Hi, my name is Ariel, and welcome to the Portly Island Boy YouTube channel. Today I'm breaking down One Piece Volume 3, where we see the end of Luffy vs. Buggy the Clown and the beginning of the Seer Village arc. Before we get into it, please give this video a like and hit the subscribe button so we can get that YouTube algorithm working and get this channel into some of those One Piece search results. Let's get into the recap and review of Volume 3. We left the last chapter of Volume 3 with the startling revelation that Buggy the Clown knows red-haired Shanks. Shanks, the person whom gave Luffy his now trademark straw hat. Buggy reveals that he and Shanks were pirate apprentices on the same ship. We really don't know much other than that. They do seem like teens. They do get into fights on the ship, and it's weird because Shanks was very careful about not letting Luffy onto his own ship at the age of about 8 years old. Luffy himself during this scene, during the fight with Buggy, is 17. Zoro is 19. They're both on their own. So it's interesting to see what age Buggy and Shanks are. We don't know at this point. We don't really get much information. In Buggy's flashback, which we get at this point, we see that Buggy finds a map of an underwater treasure, an underwater hoard of treasure, presumably stolen from people belonging to someone named Captain John. He doesn't share this map with his crew. Someone else on the crew finds a devil fruit, the same fruit we learned that Buggy himself will eat to gain his fantastical powers. Buggy plans to sell this fruit to fund his expedition for the hidden treasure. He tricks his crew into thinking he eats it and plans to steal the fruit, steal the map, and go off on his own. But after some unfortunate shenanigans, Buggy accidentally swallows the devil fruit and blames Shanks for it. So at this point, Buggy actually has eaten the devil fruit. He can't swim, much like Luffy can't as well. And he can no longer go into this swim and find this underwater treasure. So for some reason, he blames Shanks for all of this. And that's why he hates him. So next we get the continuation of the fight between, or the start rather, of the fight between Luffy and Buggy. And this fight is unlike anything we've really ever seen. This is a fight between two people who have eaten devil fruits. We call them devil fruit users. Buggy uses blades. He uses knives, and he has like blades on his shoes to attack from unique angles. And Luffy fights with his usual rubber-enhanced brute strength. Buggy's body parts float around, making it difficult for Luffy to really pinpoint an attack and be able to use that famous strength of his, something Buggy can't really match. However, Luffy does figure out how Buggy the Clown's fruit works. Buggy's body needs an anchor, some part of him to stay in place, to stay grounded, while the rest of his body can be floating around within reach. So Luffy takes advantage of this at one point, kicking him in the jewels, another point tickling his feet. And he also takes advantage of the other kind of weakness or trick behind Buggy's fruit. Any pain that Buggy feels on his body parts, the whole body feels. So when Luffy kicks Buggy in the jewels, his head, his torso, all of that, it feels it the same way a normal person's body would. Okay, so it's just this really cool way, this real cool level of intelligence that Luffy has that we don't really get prior. The fight ends hilariously when Luffy sends Buggy the Clown flying, thanks to some help from Nami and her thieving skills. When the fight is over, our heroes are unceremoniously chased away out of town by the endearing but clueless villagers. The next chapter has a strange detour where we meet Gaiman, a treasure-seeking man who accidentally got stuck inside a treasure chest for the last 20 years. You can see that he has been unable to really groom himself. His hair is grown, his facial hair is unruly, and his hands and feet are like stuck inside this chest. Gaiman fell off a cliff and into this chest when he was trying to find treasure that was supposedly left behind, like from a famous treasure map. It turns out that the treasure was not there at all. In this chapter, we get some real nice emotional intelligence from Luffy. We're getting that character sort of expand in the last few chapters. And Gaiman decides, instead of accepting the invite from Luffy to become part of the pirate crew, he decides to stay behind and look after these weird animals that just randomly live on this island. Amalgamations of different animals, like a chicken snake or a pig that flies and things like that. They depart as friends, and our crew moves on to their next island. After that strange detour, Luffy, Nami, and Zoro all agree that if they want their adventure to continue, if they want to make any headway into actually being real pirates, they're going to need a ship, a real ship. They dock in a town nearby with that goal in mind, a town called Syrup Village. Here in Syrup Village, we meet Usopp, the town crier. Young Usopp has intentionally afro-textured hair, but has a very unfortunately designed mouth. It's really one of the great missteps in One Piece. This was created in 1997. The design has not changed. We haven't really seen anything like this since, in the 20 years that have passed, in the almost 24 years now. This is not as bad as other anime characters, most notably Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball Z, which is just an awful racist caricature design. But Usopp is definitely coded as black. He has been said Oda has said in interviews that if Usopp was from a country, he would be from Africa, or from somewhere. He'd be from Africa. Oda has said that Luffy would be from Brazil. I don't quite remember what other places the other crewmates would be from. Those are the two that come in mind. But yeah, it's unfortunate. However, Usopp's most noticeable feature is not his hair or his lips. It's his thin, long nose. No doubt a reference to another famous liar. Usopp leads a band of pirate wannabes, 3 kids named Onion, Carrot, and Pepper. I don't think there's any connection to Usopp and vegetables other than that. Something unique about Usopp, he wakes up every day and he runs through town screaming at the top of his lung, "The pirates are coming! Run away! Pirates are here!" Which, of course, is never true. There are never pirates. Until our crew shows up, bearing the flag, not of their own pirate, logo, symbol, whatever, but of Buggy the Clown. Usopp and his make-believe pirates try to use bravado and trickery, read lies, to scare away our heroes, but to no avail. Crisis is averted when Usopp realizes that Luffy and his friends are no threat to the village. We then learn of Miss Kaya, a young girl who has been bedridden since the death of her parents. Usopp visits her every now and then and cheers her up with fantastical stories, lies, and fables like a goldfish who poops islands, or a legendary mole that's burrowed under the mansion that Usopp has caught. Kaya is the heir to a large fortune that was left to her when her parents died, and Luffy hopes to get a ship from her. We don't really get any sense of, like, is he buying the ship? Does he just want one? Is he going to steal one? He's a pirate. We don't really get any of that, any answers there. However, Kaya's butler, a man named Klahadore, doesn't approve of Usopp's trips to read to Kaya, and he doesn't approve of our crew showing up to ask her for a ship. Klahadore is thin and tall with an uptight demeanor. He insults Usopp, calling his father a filthy pirate, and after an intense altercation, Usopp punches Klahadore and runs off. Luffy catches up with Usopp, and the two of them have a heart-to-heart. We learn that Usopp's dad is a pirate who left to go sail the 7 seas, but he's actually a pirate on Shanks' crew. and Luffy has met him before. They were friends, and he was there in Chapter 1. Usopp serves as the marksman on Shanks' crew, and we also learn from Usopp that red-haired Shanks is a famous pirate. So we have heard from Buggy that he knew Shanks, but here we get from somebody removed from the situation that Shanks is a pretty big name. The conversation, however, is interrupted when the two notice that Klahadore is speaking to a curiously dressed pirate named Jango. It turns out that Klahadore was a pirate himself, a man named Captain Kuro. 3 years ago, he faked his death, and he's been living here in Syrup Village ever since. Luffy and Usopp overhear Kuro and Jango discuss their plan. Step 1, hypnotize Kaya into writing a will that leaves her butler Klahadore as the sole inheritor. Number 2, kill Kaya and make it seem like an accident. Number 3, attack the village to distract from all of the chaos happening at Kaya's mansion. Luffy and Usopp, of course, like I said, overhear this. They want to go run away and stop it, but Luffy foolishly announces his presence and is immediately hypnotized by Jango the pirate. Luffy falls off the cliff and is immobilized. And it's this moment where I think Oda has a great scene in his story. Kuro lets Usopp go. He says, "No one will ever believe you." He's confident that his plan won't fail, even with this witness. Usopp runs to town, screaming, "The pirates are coming! Run away! Please believe me, the pirates are coming tomorrow morning!" And his cries fall on deaf ears. The pirates are coming. The boy has cried wolf, and the wolf is at the door. For the review, let's go back to the beginning and look at Luffy versus Buggy. Luffy versus Buggy is such an interesting fight. Their devil fruit powers make for some quirky interactions, but as the fight goes on, it's kind of clear that Luffy's physical strength is on a different level than Buggy. I think Zoro, too, you see in the previous volume that these two are unnaturally strong. By the end of this fight, Luffy displays some really cool combat intelligence. We mentioned before about figuring out how Buggy's kind of weakness is, how his feet need to be on the ground, and how the body feels pain all over. Because there are times where Buggy's trying to like attack Nami. Luffy doesn't let that happen. It's really, I really like the fight. It's interesting. It's interesting to see how fights will move on. Right, even if you're a new reader, you can kind of figure out that we're going to be seeing more and more devil fruits. You know, just because Zoro and Nami don't have them, and we've only seen one other person, doesn't mean that this world can't expand. And as somebody who has read all 1,019 chapters thus far, believe me, it does expand in a real crazy way. But what's real interesting about that part of the volume is seeing the history between Shanks and Buggy, specifically how the two of them treat their crewmates. We talked a lot about how different pirates treating their crewmates is kind of a measuring stick for what Luffy wants to be as a pirate moving forward. So let's look here. Buggy finds this treasure map during a raid, during a fight, whatever, in the flashback. He hides it. He doesn't want to share. Meanwhile, when somebody else in the crew finds a very valuable prize, this devil fruit worth 100 million berries, it's available for anyone on the crew to eat. 100 million berries. It tells us that maybe this crew is not wanting for money. We really don't know anything else. And Buggy wants to steal it, right? He wants to steal it. So he wants to keep this map for himself. He wants to steal that fruit. Shanks is very open to sharing. The crew is very open to sharing. I'm thinking here that the Buggy seems to be the black sheep of this particular crew. A really cool note, though, I think, is that we can assume that Luffy's fruit would have fetched a similar price. We know that Shanks and his crew stole it from an enemy. We don't know anything other than that. Maybe another pirate ship. And it's 100 million berries. Okay, so it's no matter what it is a considerable sum. A considerable sum. And I love that Shanks, in that moment when this 8-year-old who goofs around and bothers you about joining your crew in volume 1, he eats this fruit, and yet Shanks never holds it against Luffy. To Shanks, his friends are worth more than really all the money in the world. And I love that about that character. We know so much about Shanks just from his interactions and how Oda is constantly recontextualizing that interaction with how we get crewmates and how we get devil fruits and all this stuff. I love the depth into that character. He seems to be such an important character moving forward. It's such great writing. After the battle between Luffy and Buggy, there are a couple of really fun pages of our little crew interacting. I love this bit in particular when Nami gets mad that Luffy leaves half the money that they stole from Buggy's crew. He leaves it behind for the village to help them rebuild their village. I also love there's another scene where Luffy gets a little overeager when Nami fixes his hat. Oda, you'll see, loves to put gags that span multiple panels, sometimes in very little details. You'll see here that when Nami stabs Luffy, that he has a little bit of a red mark on his forehead there. Speaking of details, right, the little detail with the pin. Let's talk about this weird filler-esque chapter with Gaiman, the strange treasure chest person. We get a little bit of insight into the physical world of One Piece. We get an explanation of the globe. So the world has a large landmass called the Red Line. Let's think of the Red Line as the equator, a line that spans around the middle of this planet. So this planet doesn't look like ours, okay? It splits the planet in two, and into two halves essentially, and a line running perpendicular to the Red Line is called the Grand Line. Okay, so we have an X. One is the Red Line. One is the Grand Line. The Red Line is a landmass that that's really all we know. It's just a landmass. And the Grand Line is a stretch of sea, a stretch of water, a stretch of ocean, a stretch of sea. In the 20 years since Gold Roger has died, countless pirates have tried to traverse the Grand Line, to go to the end of the Grand Line, and nobody succeeded. Okay, it really puts Luffy's goal into perspective. We'll get more into the globe as that is revealed to us in the world, but for now, in easy real life geographical terms, think of it as the equator and the prime meridian. Prime meridian. I'm a teacher. I know things. So, Usopp. Fun little name breakdown. In Japanese, Uso means to lie or lying. I don't know if there's a real great transliteration there. And Oda, the author, combined that with Aesop, as in Aesop's Fables. A fun pun / play on words, because Usopp is quite the storyteller. I love that Oda gave Usopp the Pinocchio nose. It's on the nose, but it makes for some really, really great gags down the road. A fun detail in the story, Usopp and his make-believe pirates get scared because they see a pirate ship docking into town. Or coming ashore. And of course it is our heroes. It's Luffy, it's Nami, it's Zoro. They don't look like pirates though. And they don't have their own flag. But the detail is that earlier, I think in the Gaiman chapter, Nami comments that one of their ships still has Buggy's flag on it. And they just say, oh, we'll fix it later. A perfect little detail. And you'll see that Oda loves to put these details in that are used to clue the reader into something that's about to happen. Great storytelling. The introduction of Usopp and Nami give the opportunity for Oda's comedy to really shine, specifically between crewmates. Luffy and Zoro definitely have different energy levels, but both are freakishly strong and completely clueless. And as the series go on, they will kind of fill that same role in comedic interactions. Nami is more of a normal person, at least physically, and her reactions to their shenanigans and their insane physical abilities give the audience a sense of what normal people are like in this world. Usopp, on the other hand, is just as silly and fun as Luffy, but without any of Luffy's confidence. And I love that we're getting more personalities, more different types of people, which will increase the amount of jokes we'll get moving forward, really making the series feel more fun. Weirdly enough, though, my favorite joke in this particular volume comes from Zoro, who is sometimes the most serious of the crew. The last thing to talk about here is Kuro / Klahadore, the villain for the Syrup Village arc that we've started here in Volume 4. Kuro is the least likable type of villain. He's smarmy, he's manipulative, and worst of all, he's smart. He says to Usopp, "I know you're only after Kaya's money." What do they say? In every lie, there's a kernel of truth. Kuro insults Usopp, calls him somebody's after money, calls him greedy, calls his dad a dirty, filthy pirate. And of course, Kuro's essentially describing himself. I don't know if he would call himself filthy, but he's a pirate. He's after money. He's the one who's lying. I love the juxtaposition between Usopp the liar, the town liar, right? The kid who nobody should believe a word from, the pathological liar, having to be the hero against this upstanding, honest citizen, Klahadore, who's gained this reputation over 3 years of being such a great guy. It just reminds you don't really know what somebody's really like in their own head. Another interesting name detail, Kuro in Japanese means black. Oda notes later in terms of design that Kuro's jacket has that gold poop on it because the dude is full of crap. The other villain we see in this volume is Jango the Hypnotist. Jango has a not so subtle design inspiration complete with a moonwalk. The crew he commands loves to wear a little bit of eye makeup and cat ears because Kuro, like Buggy, loves a good theme. We're sure to get more from Kuro and Jango and Usopp in Volume 4.